Yeah, it's good to be back, Ludo. I was off travelling across the country from coast to coast, and a lot of that travel got me thinking about open world level design and how a lot of developers misunderstand its entire purpose. What even is an open world? Well, that's a good question. For something to be considered an open world game, there are a few qualifiers. First would be that progression takes place in a large open space, or world if you will. You will? Alright, good. And this progression is usually gated via player and enemy power levels rather than ability gating like in Metroidvanias, let's say. Along with a strong emphasis on allowing players to blow off the main story path in favour of side content, creating non-linear choices of where to go and what to do as they explore naturally. Now, this is what an open world game should be aiming to facilitate, but a lot of developers misunderstand what it takes to make one of these actually engaging and just slap a large expanse onto a recognisable IP and hope that makes it more appealing, but in reality, it does the complete opposite and draws attention to the emptiness of their worlds if they don't take the proper care to understand what actually makes open worlds tick. The best example of taking a formula that already works and then slapping an open world onto it is probably Batman Arkham City. Well, I'll let you and the viewers decide whether I think it was a good or a bad thing ultimately. Arkham Asylum is truly a masterclass in pacing and atmosphere, and that's largely due to its linear nature and control of this pacing. And in reality, it does make sense to extend the Cape Crusader's adventures to an open world, as that's where he does the majority of, his crime fighting, but in doing so, the game loses some of its atmosphere as you're forced to travel from set piece to set piece. But luckily, the commute between them is entertaining due to its sine wave ups and downs of grappling up to vantage, surveying your environment and then gliding down to save the day. In your game, if there are large stretches of emptiness, the act of traversing those stretches needs to be entertaining in their own right, and this is something that all Spider-Man games have understood with their web-slinging intricacies, but games like Mind's Eye have completely botched. Now, even if you circumvent this by having a lot of things to do in your world, increasing player choice makes it harder to compel them towards specific key events without an over-reliance on the map, taking them out of the world you created and forcing them to focus on UI elements. So the problem is, how do you compel your players to focus on your world and give them a copious amount of things to engage with at the same time? Well, yeah, FromSoft are a great example of this. But before we dive into Limgrave, how about some money save with today's sponsor? Yeah, I still got it, Ludo. This video is brought to you by GameMaker, and if you've ever wanted to get into game development, GameMaker does this really crazy thing where it's free, just start making and only pay when you want to release your game to the world commercially.
It's fast, it's user-friendly, and there's easy-to-follow tutorials, plus a dedicated community to help answer even my questions. How make man jump? GameMaker is a 2D game engine that's helped bring some of yours and my favorite recent experiences to life, like UFO 50, Chicory, Anton Blast, and of course, Yahtzee's own Starstruck Vagabond.
Ooh, are we talking about GameMaker? I love that program, it's so easy to use. As well as Starstruck Vagabond, I also used it to make all 12 projects in my 12 games in 12 months Dev Diary challenge. And I couldn't believe how much sex I got out of that. None. I got none at all, which I couldn't believe.
So what are you waiting for? Head on over to the GameMaker link in the description and start cracking away today, because we want to play your game.
Yeah, looking through this list, I'm seeing one of you made Armpit Fart Tycoon, and I've got several questions for you. Right, so we've already explored how From Software have used level design techniques to control the player mindset in their Soul series, but seemingly this only really works in situations where they can carefully control pacing and progression in a linear setting. But famously, From Software took their tried and true formula and flung its players into a massive open world with endless caves, caverns, castles, and catacombs to explore. So what is it? What makes Elden Ring's open world so much more successful than its competitors? No, it's not Rani's feet. Well, maybe. Well, no, it's all about motivation. A sprawling, densely packed world means nothing without motivation to explore it. And when it comes to motivating players from a design perspective, it comes down to 3 simple categories: intrinsic, extrinsic, and narrative motivation. And these all constantly overlap one another, but they're easier to discuss in isolation. Intrinsic motivation is the driving force that you feel to play because you personally find it rewarding. From overcoming challenges to getting the perfect Fashion Souls combo, it's not about a tangible reward, but an internal one, whatever that might be. Extrinsic motivation, on the other hand, is motivating the player by giving them things. Whether the reward is a powerful new tool, ability, or cosmetic item, things will always be a huge motivating factor to do anything for most players. Narrative motivation is the simplest of them all. Players want to progress so they can delve deeper into its characters and their stories, or in Elden Ring's case, figure out what the fuck is happening at all. Now, one of the things that makes Elden Ring's open world successful is that every single challenge you stumble upon will reward the player with one of these three motivation systems, if not all of them at the same time. A meaningful challenge, reward for overcoming it, and sometimes narrative threads to follow. And on top of that, always procuring runes is an ever-present extrinsic motivation to progress and explore. Because of this, every structure and event the player stumbles upon targets a wide range of motivation systems to entice a broad spectrum of players, leading to the majority of them anamorphing into truffle pigs snuffling around for anything and everything that they can get their grubby little trotters on. And these pigs ain't aimless. We can see From Software's masterful use of framing in every aspect of the game. Framing is where developers used forced perspectives via level designs to highlight certain elements and encourage players to notice them. For example, once you wake up and crawl through the starting catacombs, you're greeted with your first sight of Limgrave and its outer wilds. This one snapshot contains a site of grace, an NPC, the next viable point of interest, and a boss, all of this in one frame. The same exact thing can be seen here with Arkham City. A small challenge for you, Ludo: try and spot what it's framing with this opening shot. Now, framing can be simple when you know what direction a player will arrive from, but From Software have had to account for a limitless amount of angles of approach, and the newly bolstered verticality just quadrupled that complexity. But this is where FromSoft fall back on old tricks, using Vantage to allow its players to look down on environments to spot points of interest. They then use diegetic signifiers like endemic life, ruins, or simply candles to draw the player's attention in certain directions. This verticality is not just a mechanic for players to indulge in, but a design necessity that allows its developers to guide its players, keeping exploration feeling natural, but ultimately influenced. And coming back to motivation, there are also extrinsic reasons to carefully observe your environment instead of just staring at a map. Due to the insane amount of builds accessible in the game, it could become overwhelming or even encourage players to stop caring if their rewards were always something they personally didn't value. Because in a lot of games, and Souls is guilty of this as well, item placements are arbitrary. The magical sword to end the universe is contained in a rat's ass. But in Elden Ring, item placement has narrative cohesion. If you're a mage who wants to expand their knowledge, what should you seek out? A distant, riddle-guarded mage tower. Bows and arrow stocks are always found within siege towers. Gravewort can be found near, say it with me, graves, and shards to upgrade your weapons can always be found in abundance within mines. This allows players to look down from Vantage, see a litany of options that could be overwhelming in other games, but then quickly determine where they want to go based on their own personal extrinsic motivation tied to their build. This is mechanically and narratively genius and bolsters the verisimilar quality of the world itself. And you'll see this as a theme for any open world game that has any acclaim. They'll either be focused on engaging traversal in between core mission areas, and if not, dynamic events will transpire to bring those open world stretches to life, or motivation systems will be endlessly rewarded via side content, and in the best cases, all of the above. Effective open world design is one of the hardest level design challenges out there, and if you don't approach it with the correct level of respect for your players' time, you might think these wide open spaces with hubs dotted around will be perceived as expansive, but in reality, it makes it feel empty and bloated, like a gassy cow with a quest marker on it. Oh god. But what do you think? What is the best and worst example of open world design that you've seen in recent years, and what do you think of quest markers as a whole? It's a bit of a complex question, but let us know down below, because we would love to discuss this with you. Oi, Ludes, I just checked and I saw that you're not in the Second Wind Patreon. And can I tell you, Missy, that you are missing out. We have Patreon Hangout movie nights, we have exclusive experimental videos, and a bunch of other goodies that you could be involved in, but I guess you're too busy with, I don't know, not having thumbs. Well, yeah, that is fair. You do work here too. Okay, yeah, I'll get you added to that after this. Alright, time to say goodbye, Ludo. Alright, bye guys.